Before the world fell apart, I was the fragile only son of a wealthy family, always wrapped in cotton wool because of my weak health. When the apocalypse hit, my foster brother and my childhood friend kept me safe, letting me stay spoiled and demanding without a care. Then one night I had a nightmare that felt too real. In it, I was the person everyone secretly despised. They pretended to protect me, but inside they found me annoying and useless. In the end, they voted to use me as live bait for the Zombie King. I woke up gasping, and right above their heads I saw thick blood-red bars. The numbers were so high they looked almost black. No question about it, that was an aversion meter. I cried alone in the dark. After that, I locked away every tantrum and whim, started pulling back, and tried to make new friends instead. Until, in the middle of a desperate escape, a stranger took my hand and confessed his feelings with complete sincerity. In that exact moment, the two red bars above the people I trusted most shattered like glass. Chapter 1: Numbers That Lie. I jolted awake with the phantom pain of teeth tearing into my neck still burning under my skin. My heart slammed against my ribs as I sat up too fast, and the familiar dizziness hit me hard enough to blur the room. Sweat soaked through my shirt. Atlas stirred beside me, rolling over without any trace of sleep in his voice. "Elliot? Nightmare?" I opened my mouth to answer, but the word caught when I saw it. Above his head, a thick crimson bar hovered, impossible to ignore. The number read 99. The edges flickered like they were struggling to contain the value. My breath hitched. The dream rushed back in sharp pieces. The vote, the indifference in his eyes, the way he and Bowen had looked at me like I was nothing more than a liability. Atlas watched me without blinking. "Talk to me." I swallowed and forced a shaky smile. "Just a bad dream. Can you hold me tonight? Like before." That used to be our routine. I'd watch something scary, get spooked, then crawl into his bed because he was warm and solid and nothing felt dangerous when he was close. He never minded. Or at least I thought he never minded. I swung one leg over his hips and settled against his chest, arms looping around his neck the way I always did. His entire body locked. Muscles under my thighs turned to stone. His large hands settled on my shoulders, not gently, but with clear pressure pushing me away. "Elliot, get down." The bar above him spasmed. The number jumped, glitched into jagged static, then snapped back with a red warning icon and 3 bold exclamation marks. I froze. Every instinct screamed to move. I slid off him slowly, retreating until my back hit the headboard. As distance grew between us, the bar steadied, dropping back to a steady 99. No more chaos, just cold, unrelenting red. My stomach twisted. If closeness made it worse, then the number really was aversion. The higher it climbed, the more he hated having me near. I yanked the blanket up to my chin and curled into the smallest ball I could manage. My throat burned with the effort not to cry out loud. Why keep sleeping in the same bed if you can't stand me? Why pretend? Atlas stayed quiet for a long moment. Then the mattress dipped as he lay down again, on his side, keeping a careful gap between us. His hand hovered above the cocoon of blanket I'd made, then patted once, twice, slow and rhythmic. "I'm not going anywhere. Sleep." I bit the inside of my cheek until I tasted copper. His voice sounded gentle, but the bar hadn't lied. I squeezed my eyes shut and let exhaustion pull me under. Morning light came too soon. Atlas was already gone. I sat up, hair a mess, trying to convince myself the night had been another layer of the dream. Maybe none of it was real. Maybe I'd imagined the bars. The door opened before I could finish the thought. Bowen strode in, all easy confidence, and dropped onto the bed beside me without asking. He held out his palm. A smooth, iridescent crystal caught the light. "Look what I spent all night hunting zombies for. Prettiest one I've seen in months. For you. I treat you right, don't I?" His tone carried that familiar brag, waiting for praise. I glanced up. Above his head, the bar glowed deep red. 97. My chest tightened. Yesterday's shock had dulled the edge a little, but it still hurt. I took the crystal carefully. "It's beautiful. Thank you." Bowen blinked. Then he leaned in and pressed the back of his hand to my forehead. "Okay, what's with the politeness? You sick? Did you hit your head?" I ducked away and started folding the blanket, focusing on the creases. "I'm fine." He watched me in silence while I worked. When I finally looked up, the number had climbed. 98.5. I almost laughed at the absurdity. I was trying to be considerate, and it still made things worse. What did he want from me? Voices echoed from outside. Someone shouted, "Bowen!" New healer just arrived at the gate. Move fast if you want first dibs. Bowen's gaze lingered on me a second longer. He pressed the crystal into my hand. If you don't like it, I'll find a better one. I'm heading out. Wait for me. I nodded. Okay. He left. I stared at the closed door, fingers closing tight around the warm stone. A healer. A cure-type ability. The dream had mentioned someone like that. Someone who would draw everyone's attention away from me. If the bars were real, then staying close to Atlas and Bowen would only make the numbers worse. But I couldn't survive alone in this world. The only option left was to step back, become less of a burden, and build new connections before they decided I wasn't worth protecting at all. I slipped the crystal into my pocket and stood up. Time to meet the newcomer. Chapter 2, The Green That Fooled Me. I lingered in the doorway, watching the bustle outside. People moved with purpose, carrying supplies, checking weapons, laughing in small groups. I had never paid much attention before. Atlas and Bowen always handled everything, and I stayed in their shadow. Now the shadow felt like a cage. Memphis spotted me first. He was running drills with a group of recruits, shirt sleeves rolled up, barking orders. No red bar hovered above him, just a neutral gray nothing. Relief loosened the knot in my chest. I jogged over, forcing brightness into my voice. Hey, Memphis. Morning. He turned, eyebrows shooting up. Elliot, you're up early. Looking for the captains? I shook my head. Actually, I was thinking maybe you could teach me something useful, like how to hold a knife properly, or at least not die immediately if a zombie gets close. Memphis gave me a slow once-over, gaze lingering on my thin arms and the way I still leaned slightly against the wall for balance. He scratched the back of his neck. Kid, you sure? You're not exactly built for frontline. My shoulders sagged. Yeah, forget it. He opened his mouth, probably to soften the rejection, but I was already turning away. It's fine. Keep training. I'll figure something out. I wandered farther into the base, past storage sheds and the infirmary tent. Faces glanced my way, then slid past. No one stopped to chat. No one offered a spare seat or a casual joke. I was the one who got carried through gates, the one who needed extra rations because I couldn't fight for them. Parasite with a pretty face. I found a quiet corner behind the water tanks and sank down against the metal. The cold bit through my jacket. If I could awaken an ability, any ability, maybe the numbers would change. Maybe Atlas and Bowen wouldn't look at me like I was a problem to solve. Or maybe the dream had been right all along, and I really was the character nobody wanted around. Footsteps crunched closer. I wiped my eyes quickly and looked up. A young guy stood there, slight build, soft features, wearing the standard issue jacket a size too big. Above his head floated a pale green bar. The number read 30. Not high but green, not red. He smiled, hesitant. Hi, I'm Caden, the new healer. Someone said you might be around here. I scrambled to my feet. Elliot, Atlas's brother. I heard you just arrived. Cure type, right? That's impressive. Caden rubbed the back of his neck, cheeks pink. Just lucky, I guess. Still figuring it out. The green bar ticked upward. 35. Then 40. My pulse jumped. Someone who didn't start at 0. Someone who didn't flinch when I talked. We chatted easily about the base layout, the latest supply runs, how strange it felt to wake up every day still breathing. Every few minutes the bar climbed a little more. By the time Atlas appeared at the end of the row, it sat at 50. Atlas stopped short. His eyes flicked from me to Caden, then back. The crimson above his head pulsed once. Hard. 99.3. Elliot, he said, voice flat. We're heading to the briefing room. Now. I hesitated. Caden gave a small wave. See you later? Yeah, I answered quickly. Definitely. Atlas's hand closed around my wrist. Not hard, but firm enough to pull me along. I glanced back. Caden's green bar had jumped again. 55. Progress. The walk was silent. Atlas didn't speak until we reached the edge of the main square. Stay away from the new guy. I tugged my arm free. Why? He's nice, and he doesn't mind talking to me. Atlas's jaw tightened. You don't know him. I don't know most people here. That's the point. I kept my tone even. I'm trying to make friends. You always said I should stop relying on just you and Bowen. His eyes narrowed. The red bar flickered but held steady. This isn't about relying. It's about safety. I almost laughed. Safety, right? Then let me learn to protect myself. Take me on a run. Let me watch. Anything. No, the word landed like a door slamming. I stared at him. Why not? Because I said no. He stepped closer, voice dropping. There won't be a day I can't protect you. Understand? I looked straight into the red. 99.5 now. And if there is? What then? He didn't answer, just turned and walked away. That afternoon Caden found me again. We sat on a crate near the perimeter fence, sharing a ration bar he'd split in half. He told me about his ability, how it felt like warm light spreading from his palms, and I actually listened without worrying about numbers for the first time in days. His bar climbed steadily. 65. 70. Atlas passed by twice. Each time his gaze lingered, cold and unreadable. Bowen appeared once, leaning against a nearby post, arms crossed. He didn't say anything, but the air thickened. Caden noticed. They really don't like me, huh? He murmured. They don't like change, I said. Ignore them. But I couldn't ignore the way the two red bars seemed to compete whenever Caden was near. Atlas went quiet and sharp-edged. Bowen got loud, throwing barbs that Caden deflected with calm smiles. The more they clashed, the higher Caden's green climbed. I told myself it was inevitable. In the dream, everyone ended up drawn to the newcomer. The fights, the tension, it was just the start of something else. Something that would leave me on the outside where I belonged. Later that evening, I tracked down one of the other team leaders, a gruff woman named Riley. She was prepping for a scouting run at dawn. Take me with you, I said. I won't slow you down. I just want to see what it's like. She studied me. Captains know about this? Not yet. Riley snorted. They'll find out. But fine. Be at the gate by 0500. And don't make me regret it. I nodded, heart racing. One step away from the red bars. One step toward proving I didn't have to be carried anymore. I didn't tell Atlas or Bowen. I didn't want another fight. I just wanted to breathe without feeling the weight of their numbers pressing down. Chapter 3: The Weight of Permission. I barely slept. The alarm on my wrist buzzed at 4:45 a.m. and I slipped out before the sky lightened. Riley waited at the gate with her team. 6 people, all hardened, checking gear with practiced movements. She gave me a quick nod and handed me a lightweight pack. Stay in the middle. Don't touch anything unless I say. Got it. Got it. The truck rumbled out of the base just as dawn broke. No one spoke much. I kept my head down, pretending the silence was normal. Inside, my nerves hummed. This was the first time I'd left the walls without Atlas or Bowen shadowing every step. We hit the abandoned industrial stretch an hour later. Riley signaled a stop near a cluster of overgrown warehouses. Quick forage. Plants, metals, anything marked in the guide. 10 minutes. I followed the group, eyes scanning the cracked concrete for anything useful. My memory had always been sharp. Hours spent flipping through salvaged books on herbs and mutations paid off now. I spotted a cluster of pale violet leaves tucked against a rusted fence. The guide called them fever thorn. Good for fever, better when mutated. I crouched, careful, and reached. A thin stem snapped under my fingers. A small cut opened across my palm. Nothing deep, just enough to sting. Blood welled in a thin line. I pressed my thumb over it and kept moving. Minutes later, the ground trembled. Low, rolling growls built into a roar that vibrated through my bones. Riley spun. Tide. Back to the truck now. We ran. The first wave poured from between buildings, dozens, then hundreds. Too fast, too many. The team formed a loose circle around me as we retreated. Bowen's voice cracked over the comms he'd insisted I carry anyway. Elliot? Where the hell are you? I didn't answer. Couldn't. My hand throbbed, blood seeping through the rag I'd wrapped around it. The truck screeched to a halt beside us. Doors flew open. Bowen leaped out first, fire already licking along his forearms. He saw me and the world narrowed to that single point. In 3 strides he reached me, scooped me up against his chest, and vaulted into the back seat. Hold on. The vehicle lurched forward. Outside, the horde closed in. Bowen barked orders through the window while keeping one arm locked around me. His bar flared above his head. Red so dark it looked black, numbers glitching into static, warnings flashing in rapid bursts. I stared at my hand. The cut wasn't healing. Fresh blood kept welling. Bowen, my blood. It's attracting them. He glanced down, then met my eyes. What? I think that's why the tide came. It's me. Throw me out. They'll follow. His hand clamped over my mouth. Hard. Don't finish that sentence. I struggled, voice muffled. You have to. He didn't hesitate. His other palm came up fast, edge striking the side of my neck. Darkness rushed in. I came to in a shallow cave, head pounding, mouth dry. Bodies lay scattered, some stirring, most still. Bowen slumped against the wall closest to me, shirt torn open across his ribs. Blood soaked through. Worse, thick blue-black veins crawled up his neck and jaw. Infection. Advanced. Caden knelt beside him, palms glowing faint green. Sweat dripped from his forehead. The light flickered, weak. It's spreading too fast. I can slow it, but... A team member, Dax, staggered to his feet. He lurched toward me, face twisted. This is your fault. You had to come. Had to play hero. Now look. He grabbed my collar and yanked me up. Pretty face, no use. Should have stayed behind the walls where you belong. Pain exploded in my side from the earlier jolt. I tasted blood but swallowed it down. No noise. No more attention. Caden shoved Dax back. Enough. We don't turn on each other. Dax spat on the ground and retreated. Caden helped me sit up properly. His green bar hovered steady at 85 now. Elliot. In the truck. Why did you tell him to drop you? I looked at Bowen. His breathing was shallow, face pale under the spreading veins. My blood draws them. Always has. If I'm gone, the tide follows me instead. Caden's expression shifted, something unreadable. You're sure? I'm sure. He exhaled slowly. There might be a way. Your blood, if it pulls the virus in, maybe it can push it out too. A long shot, but we feed him yours. Small amounts. See if it binds the infection. I didn't hesitate. Do it. Caden sliced my palm again, cleaner this time, and guided the blood to Bowen's lips. Bowen swallowed reflexively. For a long minute nothing happened. Then the veins on his face retreated, inch by inch. Color returned to his cheeks. It's working, Caden whispered. We did it twice more. Each time the black receded. Bowen's breathing evened. I felt lightheaded, vision spotting, but relief drowned everything else. Keep going. Caden shook his head. You've given enough. Rest. I leaned back against the cave wall, exhausted. Outside the entrance, the growls started again, closer, hungrier. The blood on my hand had dried, but the scent lingered. I'd forgotten to bind it properly after the last round. The team tensed. Someone muttered, "They're back." I pushed myself up using the wall. My legs shook, but I found a broken branch on the ground and used it like a crutch. I'll go. Caden grabbed my arm. Elliot, stay with him. Keep him alive. I met his eyes. Please. He let go slowly. I turned and limped toward the opening. The growls grew louder. I didn't look back. Step by step, the cave fell behind me. The branch dug into my palm. My head swam. I kept walking until the sounds of the horde drowned everything else. At least this time it was my choice. At least Bowen would live. Chapter 4: The Price of Staying Behind. The branch scraped along the ground with every step, digging splinters into my palm. My legs felt heavier with each meter I put between myself and the cave. The growls behind me multiplied, low at first, then sharper, closer. I didn't turn around. Looking back would only slow me down, and I needed distance. More distance. My head spun from the blood loss. Spots danced at the edges of my vision, but I kept moving. The plan was simple. Draw them far enough that the team could slip away in the other direction. If I could manage that, Bowen would live. Caden would keep treating him. The others might even make it back to the base with a story about how the weak link finally did something useful. A root caught my foot. I stumbled, caught myself on the branch, and kept going. The horde sounded louder now, individual snarls separating from the mass. I pushed harder, lungs burning. My mind drifted in the haze. Atlas. Where was he right now? Still on that long-range patrol? Safe? I hope so. If he came looking for me and found only this mess, the guilt would be unbearable. The growls closed in. I could hear dragging feet, snapping jaws. My knees buckled. I dropped the branch and sank against a fallen log. No more running. No more strength. I closed my eyes and waited for the first bite. It never came. Shouts cut through the noise, human shouts. Gunfire cracked in rapid bursts. Something heavy landed nearby. I forced my eyes open. Atlas burst through the underbrush, lightning arcing between his fingers. He moved like a storm, clearing a path straight to me. Bowen was right behind him, bandaged, pale, but on his feet. Fire flickered along his arms as he burned through the nearest cluster of zombies. They reached me at the same time. Atlas dropped to his knees and scooped me up without a word. His grip was tight, almost painful. Bowen flanked us, flames roaring to keep the horde back. Hold on, Atlas muttered against my hair. "We've got you." I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. "You shouldn't have come. The blood?" "Shut up," Bowen snapped. His voice shook. "Just shut up and stay with us." They carried me back toward the cave. The team had already moved out, Riley's truck idling at the edge of the clearing. Caden waited at the tailgate, hands glowing. He took one look at me and paled. "How much did you give?" "Enough," I whispered. Atlas set me down inside the truck bed. Caden knelt immediately, pressing warm light into my wounds. The dizziness eased a little, but exhaustion still pinned me in place. Atlas never let go of my hand. Bowen paced the small space, eyes wild. "You walked out there alone," Bowen said. His voice cracked on the last word. "You left me breathing and walked straight into that." "I had to," I managed. "It was following me. My fault." Atlas's fingers tightened around mine. "Your fault? You think we'd let you carry that?" I looked up at their faces. Above Atlas, the red bar still hovered, steady at 99. Above Bowen, the same. No change. Even now, after everything, the numbers refused to shift. I closed my eyes. Maybe the bars never would. The ride back was quiet. Caden kept one hand on my shoulder, steadying the healing. The team avoided my gaze. Dax sat in the far corner, arms crossed, silent for once. No more accusations, just heavy quiet. We reached the base gates at dusk. Medics swarmed the truck. They lifted me onto a stretcher despite my weak protests. Atlas and Bowen followed close, refusing to be separated. In the infirmary, they cleaned the cuts, hooked me to fluids, monitored vitals. Caden stayed long enough to confirm I'd stabilized, then excused himself with a quiet rest. His green bar had climbed to 92, almost full. Atlas pulled a chair beside the bed. Bowen took the other side. Neither spoke at first. Finally, Atlas broke the silence. "Why didn't you tell us? About the blood. About thinking you were the reason for the tide." I stared at the ceiling. "Would you have believed me?" "Yes." The answer came from both of them at once. I swallowed. "The numbers, they don't lie. You hate having me close. Every time I try, it gets worse." Bowen leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "What numbers?" I hesitated. Then I told them everything. The dream, the red bars, the way they spiked when I touched them, glitched when I got too near. I kept my voice flat, clinical. No tears, no begging. When I finished, silence stretched. Atlas spoke first, low. "You've been seeing that since the nightmare." I nodded. Bowen rubbed a hand over his face. "And you thought we were pretending all this time? What else could it be?" I asked. Atlas reached out slowly. His thumb brushed my knuckles. The red bar above him flickered just once, but stayed red. "We're not pretending anything." Bowen's voice was rough. "If we hated you, we wouldn't have torn half the forest apart looking for you. We wouldn't be sitting here right now." I looked between them. The bars hadn't moved. Not even a fraction. "Maybe you don't know," I whispered. "Maybe it's buried so deep you don't feel it." Atlas's jaw clenched. "Or maybe something's wrong with what you're seeing." I didn't have an answer for that. They stayed through the night, Atlas in the chair, Bowen stretched out on the spare cot. I drifted in and out, their presence a steady anchor. By morning, the medics cleared me for light movement. I sat up, back against the pillows. Atlas handed me water. Bowen watched every sip like it might disappear. I set the cup down. "I need to talk to Caden. Alone." They exchanged a glance. Tense, reluctant, but nodded. Caden arrived 10 minutes later. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes. I waited until the door closed. "You knew about my blood, how it might work against the virus." He sat on the edge of the bed. "I suspected, after what happened in the truck. And you let me give it anyway. You wanted to save him." His green bar held steady at 95 now. "I wasn't going to stop you." I studied him. "Why are you the only one who doesn't start at 0 with me?" Caden smiled faintly. "Maybe I just see you clearly." I didn't believe it. Not completely. But I was too tired to argue. Outside the window, the base carried on. Patrols moved. Supplies unloaded. Life continued. I leaned back and closed my eyes. The red bars were still there in my mind, unyielding, unchanging. Chapter 5: Home in the Aftermath. The infirmary lights were too bright when I woke again. My head throbbed, but the dizziness had faded to a dull hum. A woman sat beside the bed, holding my hand between hers. She looked younger than I remembered. Hair pulled into a tight ponytail, eyes red from crying. "Mom," She saw me stir and let out a broken sound. Elliot. I blinked hard. Mom. She leaned forward and pulled me into her arms, careful of the 4-line. You're here. You're really here. The room filled with noise. Doctors rushing in, monitors beeping faster, Dad appearing in the doorway with his coat still on. He crossed the space in 3 strides and wrapped us both up. Son. Thank God. They explained in pieces. Their scouting team had been sweeping the northern forest for rare crystal deposits when they found the aftermath of our fight. The abandoned truck, blood trails, zombie corpses piled high. They recognized my jacket caught on a branch and followed the signs. A teleporter in their unit carried me back to Dawn Base in shifts over 2 days. I'd been unconscious for a week, fighting infections the old-fashioned way until the medics stabilized me. Mom kept stroking my hair while she talked. We've been searching since the first week the world ended. Posted notices everywhere. Never stopped. I swallowed past the lump in my throat. I thought you were gone. Dad squeezed my shoulder. We're not going anywhere now. I told them everything about the blood-drawing zombies, about feeding it to Bowen, about walking out alone. Mom listened without interrupting. When I finished, she just held me tighter. Your blood is special. We'll figure it out together. No one's using you again. I nodded, too tired to argue. Atlas and Bowen. They're still out there? Dad exchanged a look with Mom. They tore through half the region looking for you. Word got back fast once we brought you in. I reached for the comm device on the bedside table. Mom handed it over without question. Call them. They need to hear your voice. I dialed the old base frequency. Static crackled. Then a familiar voice answered. Who's this? Memphis? It's Elliot. A clatter on the other end, like someone dropped a rifle. Holy Elliot? You're alive. Yeah, I'm at Dawn Base, with my parents. Memphis let out a shaky laugh. The captains are gonna lose it. They've been not good. After you disappeared, Atlas came back from patrol and nearly tore the place apart when he heard about the tide. Bowen was still half dead when they hauled him in, but he woke up swinging. They fought each other first bad. Then they turned on Caden. Beat the truth out of him. I sat up straighter. What truth? Caden's not from here. He's something else. Said he messed with your head. Planted the nightmare, faked the bars you see. Switched colors, numbers, everything. Made you think the people who love you hate you. He wanted your spot. Wanted the attention. System thing, he called it a system. Said you're the real main character. Couldn't kill you outright, so he tried to make you walk into death yourself. My stomach dropped. And they believed him? After what they did to him? Yeah. He broke fast. Then they left. Been searching ever since. No sleep, no rest. Just hunting for any sign of you. I gripped the device harder. Tell them I'm okay. Tell them to come. They're already on the way. Left an hour ago when the first rumor hit. Should be here by morning. I handed the comm back. Mom watched me carefully. They're the ones you mentioned. Atlas, the boy we took in after his parents died. Bowen, the neighbor kid who practically lived at our house. I nodded. She smiled, small and knowing. I always figured, the way they looked at you, both of them, you've got choices, sweetheart. Good ones. I stared at the blanket. I don't even know what's real anymore. Dad patted my leg. Rest. They'll be here soon enough. Then you talk. I slept off and on through the night. When I woke for good, sunlight streamed through the window. Mom helped me sit up and change into fresh clothes. The medics cleared me for short walks. I stepped outside for the first time in days, leaning on Dad's arm. The courtyard was quiet. I stretched my arms, breathing real air. Footsteps approached fast. A tall blonde guy from one of the Allied teams, grinning wide. He stopped in front of me and grabbed both my hands. My God, an angel among us. That dark hair. Those eyes. Perfect. Darling, marry me. Right now. I froze. Before I could pull away, 2 figures appeared at the gate. Dust-covered, unshaven, eyes locked on us. Atlas and Bowen. The blonde kept talking, oblivious. Above Atlas's head, the red bar stretched, spiked, hit critical. Warnings flashed. Bowen's did the same. Numbers dissolving into chaos, then bursting in a silent explosion of light only I could see. I yanked my hands free. Sorry. I'm taken. The blonde sighed dramatically. Heartbroken. But if you ever change your mind. He walked off. Atlas reached me first. He didn't speak. Just pulled me against his chest, arms locking around me so tight I couldn't breathe. Warm drops hit my neck. Bowen stopped beside us, voice raw. You're here. I hugged Atlas back. I'm here. Atlas's hold loosened just enough to look at me. Tears tracked through the grime on his face. Thank you. For living. Bowen echoed it, quieter. Thank you for still being alive. I looked up at them. The bars were gone. Shattered fragments fading into nothing. For the first time since the nightmare, their heads were clear. Chapter 6, Shattered Bars and Choices. Atlas refused to leave my side for the rest of the day. He sat on the edge of the bed while medics checked my vitals again, then followed me to the small apartment my parents had claimed in the residential wing. Bowen trailed behind, silent but close enough that our shoulders brushed whenever we turned a corner. Neither spoke about the blonde guy from the courtyard. Neither needed to. The explosion of their bars had left the air between us charged, like static before a storm. Dinner was quiet. Mom and Dad kept the conversation light. Stories about their early days in Dawn Base, how Mom had climbed the ranks until she ran half the operations. Atlas and Bowen ate mechanically, eyes flicking to me every few seconds as if I might vanish again. When the plates were cleared, Mom stood and kissed my forehead. We'll leave you three to talk. Don't stay up too late. Dad clapped both men on the shoulder before they left. Take care of him. He's stubborn, but he listens when it matters. The door closed. Silence settled. Atlas spoke first. He moved to sit beside me on the couch, close enough that our knees touched. Kaidan confessed everything before we left the old base. He admitted to the system, the fake nightmare, the color swap. Your bars weren't aversion. They were the opposite. Possession, obsession, whatever you want to call it. He flipped the display so you'd see red instead of green. Made you pull away on purpose. I stared at my hands. So the numbers were never about hate. No, Atlas's voice dropped. They were about how much we wanted to keep you. How much it killed us every time you smiled at someone else. How terrified we were of losing you. Bowen stayed standing, arms crossed, but his posture had lost its usual bravado. He targeted you because you're the center of everything here. Not him. He wanted the role, the protection, the attention, and he knew the easiest way to break you was to make you believe we didn't want you. I swallowed. I walked out of that cave thinking you'd both be better off without me dragging you down. Atlas reached for my hand. His thumb traced slow circles over my knuckles. We weren't. We fell apart looking for you. Bowen finally sat on my other side. When I woke up in the cave and realized you were gone, it felt like the ground dropped out. I've never been that scared. Not even when the first wave hit the city. I looked between them. You both kept pretending nothing had changed. Even when I started pulling back, Atlas exhaled. We thought you were angry, or tired of us hovering. We didn't want to push harder and drive you away completely, so we held back. And then the bars you saw, they made it worse. Bowen leaned closer. I wanted to grab you every time you talked to Kaidan. Wanted to tell you to stop looking at anyone else like that. But I kept my mouth shut because I thought you needed space. I closed my eyes. I need you to stop holding back now. Atlas moved first. He cupped my face with both hands and kissed me. Slow at first, testing, then deeper when I leaned in. His mouth was warm, insistent, tasting faintly of the coffee he'd had at dinner. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. I love you, Elliot. I've loved you since the day our parents brought me home and you decided I was yours to boss around. I'm done pretending it's just brotherly. Bowen watched us without jealousy, only hunger. When Atlas shifted aside, Bowen took his place. His kiss was rougher, edged with the fear he'd carried for days. He kissed me like he was making up for lost time, one hand sliding to the back of my neck, holding me steady. When he broke away, his voice was hoarse. I love you too. Always have. If you choose him, I'll still be here. I'll still protect you. But I'm not walking away unless you tell me to. I touched my lips, dazed. You're both okay with this? Atlas's mouth curved faintly. We fought over a lot of things. Never over you. Bowen nodded. We'll figure it out. Together. Or however you want it. Days blurred after that. The base doctors studied my blood in earnest. A few drops were enough, combined with existing samples and Kaidan's lingering curability before he was quietly exiled, to synthesize a working antibody. Within a week, mass production began. The zombie king